Hi, my name is Leah Day, and welcome to Quilt Along number 31 on the Free Motion Quilting Project. This week we're back in the sewing room working on the Batik Beauty Quilt, and we're going to learn a new design called Lava Paisley. Basically, it's stitched the exact same way as the design that we learned last week, Paisley, but now it's all wibbly and wobbly, so it's really interesting and slightly different to stitch. Might be a little easier, who knows, but it's certainly going to create some really beautiful textures for your quilts. So let's get on the machine and see how this works in free motion. So this is where we left off last week working on Batik Beauty and our beautiful first pivoting design, Paisley. And I'm going to take out some more pens again, get ready to free motion quilt down into the sashing around this block. We're going to try out a new design today. This is called Lava Paisley. Basically, it's the same idea of a teardrop shape, only it's a teardrop shape that's gotten all wibbly and wobbly. So let's give it a try. I'm going to start with that first shape, and I'm just stitching a nice wiggly line, and then coming to a rounded end. I'll come back to my starting point. And it might be a good idea to stop with your needle in a down position right there, so that way you can kind of reposition your quilt, take out any pins that are going to be in your way, think about where you're going and what you're doing next. So now I'm going to pivot off that and run up with an echo. Returning to that starting point, and that's the nice thing about pivoting designs, to have a little bit extra thread density and layers of thread built up simply because of travel stitching and hitting that pivoting point. So here I'm going to roll up the quilt just a bit because it's kind of sitting in my lap. That way I'll have more control over it. Rotate it just a bit. Never hesitate to shift and manipulate your quilt if you're needing to. Sometimes you have to in order to see what you're doing and where you're going. So I started an echo, and just like last week, the block is kind of getting in here and overlapping the area that I would be quilting into. So I'm going to travel stitch along the stitch in the ditch section of that block, come all the way down, and kind of guesstimate my space. Visually, I'm estimating about that same distance between the echoes where I'm going to start this next one. And you know, if it's not quite perfect, don't worry about it. I don't think anyone's going to look at your quilt and go, oh wow, you really messed up that echo right there. I don't think anyone's going to say that. Okay, another wiggly wobbly Lava Paisley shape. This one's just a little smaller, so I'm going to be careful to make my echoes nice and big. You don't want things to get too tiny, otherwise my quilt will get stiff. Alright, I'm going to travel stitch and echo at the same time. Alright, now I'm going to form another one. Now I'm feeling some resistance on the quilt. I'm not sure why. It's always a good idea to pull it up every once in a while and just check. Run your hand to the back. If you're using a Supreme slider, make sure that it doesn't lift up and roll up on you. If you ever feel resistance when using a Supreme slider, make sure to stop and double check on it. Get in the habit of that. It could also be the quilt, something got hung up. It could also be an edge of the quilt is kind of folded over and I might be stitching through it. So it's a good idea to stop and check that every once in a while and make sure that nothing funky is going on. Alright, coming back down. Big echo. I've got kind of this weird area, so I'm going to kind of invent some echoes. Just throw some lines in there and it'll make more sense. There's really no rule for how you deal with the weird areas, the tiny areas that are left over. You can add more lines, pretend that there's echoes there, or you can ignore them completely. It's entirely up to you. Okay, I'm going to come back around with one more echo here, just so I can get into this little area. Fill that in with one more shape. I'm actually going to come and do a kind of a half of a shape, split it in half. right here. You might be wondering how I know to do that, you know, how I can just look at that space and know that that's the best way to do it. And the truth is, I don't really know that that's the best way to do it. I just know I've had enough experience stitching these designs that I know that that will fit and fill the area with the least amount of fuss. And so that's all I look for. It's really not rocket science. You know, you don't have to be over-analyzing your quilt or anything like that. Just kind of look at it and decide, well, what will be the easiest area to stitch into and how it will fill the most consistently more than anything else. Okay. Now, I really want to get back over here. So rather than pivot or create a new shape, I'm just going to travel stitch across the entire kind of top echo here. And that's fine. Don't worry about needing to travel stitch into places. Sometimes you have to. Now I'm going to come out with another wiggly wobbly shape. Beautiful. Now, there's two choices right here. I could continue on with my echo right here, and that would certainly be, you know, I'm kind of flowing in that direction. But I know that I have this space back here that needs to be filled, so I'm going to go on ahead and stop and travel stitch back into it and just fill that with 2 lines. And that might seem like a kind of a picky thing to do, but I'm just simply filling the space as I go, and I don't want to have to bother to travel stitch back in there. I might forget it, and it might end up being an open space on my quilt. I do kind of keep those areas in mind as I'm quilting. So there we go. That is a beautiful example of Lava Paisley stitched on a bed quilt. So that's it for this week. I really hope you'll get on your machine and give Lava Paisley a try. It's really kind of a cool, funky, more organic looking design, and I think it's going to have a really nice effect on your quilts. Of course, if you're interested in following along with this particular quilt, this is the Batik Beauty Quilt, you can find a free copy of the pattern at Free Motion Quilting Project. All you have to do is sign up for our free weekly newsletter, and that way you'll get an email every time we send out a newsletter and let you know about all of the awesome videos and articles being posted to the project each week. And so that pattern can be found at freemotionproject.com. It's in the upper right-hand corner of every page of the blog. So definitely check that out. Of course, also check out the article that corresponds with this Lava Paisley tutorial. You'll find a lot more tips, photos, and interesting tidbits, as well as comments and link-ups from other quilters so you can see what they're working on. If you would like to share anything about this design, if you try it out at home, definitely link up with us and share your progress on your blog or Facebook, Flickr, or whatever. Just get a photo online and link up with us to share what you've done with it. Of course, if you have any questions about free motion quilting, specifically this stitch or any other free motion quilting issue that you might be having, definitely post them to the Free Motion Quilting Project. I can't wait to help you answer those little questions or big questions about free motion quilting and hopefully help you be able to do this on your home machine. Until next time, let's go quilt.